Y ahora saludamos a uno de los personajes más famosos del mundo. Es la estrella de CNN International. Es el hombre que está todas las noches a las 8 en punto con las entrevistas más exóticas y espectaculares. En su hoja de vida figuran presidentes, figuran príncipes, ministros de estado, deportistas, estrellas de la televisión. La lista de personajes de Larry King, pues es interminable. Ha cumplido 10 años y dentro de sus entrevistados figuran Frank Sinatra, Ronald Reagan, Bill Cosby, Oliver North, Richard Nixon, Barbra Streisand, Ross Perot, Norman Schwarzkopf, el presidente Bush, el presidente Clinton, la señora Thatcher, el señor Gorbachev y muchas personalidades. Por eso es un placer saludar en los Estados Unidos. Creo que el señor King se encuentra en Washington, en donde se origina su programa de Larry King Live. Mr. King, thank you very much for this communication with Colombia, and good morning.
Good morning, Julio. It's great to be with you.
It's a pleasure speaking with you. You are for us a legend and a everyday example of live interviews.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm very complimented.
Pues se emociona uno de escuchar la voz
The
Voice, la voz de Larry King Live.
El Sinatra del periodismo.
Sí, pues la primera pregunta antes de hablar de su vida es ¿cuál es la percepción que él tiene en este momento de la situación de Irak? Sabemos que su informativo de anoche fue dedicado a hablar con los protagonistas de la noticia en Irak. ¿Qué es lo que le puede contar a Colombia de la situación como él la ve de Irak?
Mr. King, why can you tell Colombians how do you see the situation between the United States and Iraq? We know last night you had a special with the Iraq theme.
Yeah, it's very complicated, and it's a very tough issue to deal with. Iraq, Saddam Hussein especially, has been a thorn in the side of the United States for a number of years now. He continues to challenge America. I don't think he reads America well. I don't think he understands American politics well. I think he thought he was taking advantage of a situation where an American presidential campaign was just beginning. But actually he played right into President Clinton's hands in a sense, because this helps Clinton politically. He challenged the president. He shouldn't have done it. I think my hopes are the situation will ease off now. I can't see him continue to thumb his nose at the American president or the American people, and I think he will once again fail.
Pues ahí está la respuesta del señor King, y el resumen es que esto es un soporte político para la campaña del presidente Clinton. ¿Qué más ha dicho?
Dice que es una situación muy difícil y muy complicada, que siempre lo ha sido con Saddam Hussein, que se aprovechó de la situación que en este momento están en elecciones en Norteamérica, y que esto es un soporte y que está retando nuevamente al señor presidente Bill Clinton, y que una vez más él piensa que va a perder.
Vamos a hacerle algunas preguntas al señor King que se las habrán hecho muchísimas veces, pero que vale la pena recordarlas. Este hombre tiene 61 años y ha entrevistado, repito, a las más importantes personalidades del planeta. La pregunta que visualiza uno es su aspecto físico. ¿Cuántas corbatas tiene y quién escoge sus corbatas?
How many ties do you have, Mr. King? And who chooses your tie, the tie that you're going to wear every day?
And how many suspenders?
I'm looking at them now. I must have 500 ties. I really like ties and shirts. I must have 100 pair of suspenders. I pick my own. Some people send me ties. People make ties. I have designers that design ties with me in mind. But I select my own. I pick them every day. I try to match them off nice shirts and match them off braces. It's a look I've become very comfortable with. I would say that I'm a tie freak.
Es un friqueado de las corbatas. Tiene 500 corbatas y 100 calzonarias, suspenders. Él escoge sus camisas, le mandan de todas partes corbatas, hace un poco parte del show y de la personalidad.
Una pregunta que fue tema de nuestro programa hace poco, el personaje más fascinante que ha entrevistado en su programa.
Sí, sobre ese tema hay que dividir en el personaje más difícil, en el más fascinante y en el más difícil. Comencemos. ¿Cuál es la persona más fascinante que él ha conocido?
Who was the person that you interviewed that was most fascinating for you?
Well, there have been a few. When I was very young, I interviewed Eleanor Roosevelt, and I was a great admirer of her, and that was a thrill. I was only 22, 23 years old. I later interviewed such people as John Steinbeck, the great writer, and I interviewed Muhammad Ali many times, and he was always fascinating. If I had to pick one, it would probably be Frank Sinatra, in that he doesn't do interviews. He's very hard to get. He was very willing to do it. Jackie Gleason helped me get him. I interviewed him subsequently 5 or 6 times. When I was a young man, I sat in the audience at the theater in New York and watched him sing. So if I put it all together, if I had to pick one, it would be combining difficulty, hard to get, not doing interviews, that kind of thing, and then getting him and then having a wonderful time with him, it would be Sinatra.
Bueno, después de contarnos de personajes que entrevistó cuando joven, como Eleanor Roosevelt, el escritor Steinbeck,
Mohamed Ali.
Mohamed Ali muchas veces escogió uno, Frank Sinatra. Claro. Es que pues es de las pocas personas que ha entrevistado a Sinatra. Sinatra no es muy amigo de las entrevistas, señor King.
Mr. King, does Mr. Sinatra, he's not too close, he doesn't like too many interviews.
He almost never does interviews. He's very wary of the press. He doesn't like the press. I managed to hit it off with him and have always had a good relationship with him. Of course, now he doesn't do much of anything. He's in his 80s now, and he lives a secluded life. He doesn't sing anymore. I saw him a couple of weeks ago at a dinner party in Los Angeles. He was very nice and courteous, but I don't think he'll do interviews anymore.
Hace poco lo vi en una comida en los... Es que el hombre se mueve en otra cosa.
Y por eso ha dicho que la fascinación que tiene por el personaje y por esa entrevista fue por la dificultad en conseguirla, porque no es muy amigo de las entrevistas. Un hombre que ya está en los 80s y que ya no es amigo de la prensa.
¿Tiene admiración por algún político norteamericano?
Do you admire any political personality?
Oh, I've admired many politicians. I give politicians a lot of credit. People who stand up and run for office. It takes a lot of guts to do that. It's not easy to be a politician, to stand in public view, to raise money, and all the things you have to do to be in politics. I've admired politicians of conservatives, liberals. There's many I admire a great deal.
Sí, ¿qué dijo, Cielo?
Dice que admira a muchos políticos, que le da mucho crédito porque no es fácil ser político, pararse enfrente del público, y que se necesita mucho coraje y mucha fuerza para hacer eso, que admira a muchos conservadores y muchos liberales.
Sí, Puchi.
Le podríamos preguntar de pronto un político en América Latina que despierte su admiración.
How about a Latin American political personality?
Any admiration for any in particular?
Henry Cisneros is one of my favorite people. I just had him on at the Democratic Convention, the former mayor of San Antonio, who's Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. I think he's a great American. I lived in Miami for many years, so I knew many of the young Cubans who came to the United States and rose in American politics. I knew Maurice Ferré very well, the former mayor, who's still around. He just ran again from there. He lost, but I knew him from Puerto Rico. Of course, one of my favorites was the leader of the he passed away a couple of years ago, but he wouldn't be called a politician, I guess, but the gentleman who fought for the grape workers and the farm workers in California, he was an outstanding man. I knew him very well. I have a lot of affinity for Latins. I like the culture. I love the music. I love the people. I like how happy they are. I've always gotten along well with. It's one of my. I would say, if I had to pick a favorite out, I love the Spanish sound. I wish I could speak Spanish.
Dice que le gustaría hablar español. Habló de Henry Cisneros, el alcalde de San Antonio, que ha sido miembro del staff del presidente de los Estados Unidos. Habló de Maurice Ferré, quien fue alcalde de Miami. Y habló de Miami porque allí vivió, conoció muchos cubanos. Habló de Puerto Rico. Habló de que le gusta mucho la gente latinoamericana.
Le gusta la cultura, la música, la gente, la felicidad, y dice que ojalá pudiera hablar español porque le encanta el sonido.
Otra pregunta.
Una pregunta es, ¿qué le parece al señor King el mecanismo utilizado por un medio de comunicación norteamericano de contratar o de pagarle a una prostituta que da un testimonio sobre un asesor del presidente, el señor Dick Morris, y que ha liquidado la vida profesional del señor Morris. ¿Qué le parece al señor King ese mecanismo utilizado por ese periódico?
Mr. King, your opinion about the mechanism, the way a newspaper in the United States paid off a prostitute that he was having a relationship with Mr. Dick Morris. Now that, you know, they're paying off the money to give her story, his professional life has ended. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't like tabloids. I'm not a fan of people that do that. I would never pay for a story. I don't read tabloids. I don't like rumors. I'm not a fan of gossip. However, I love our First Amendment to the Constitution, which is freedom of speech. So I would never try to stop them from printing. I think you can sue them if they're wrong, and when they're wrong, they should be sued. They should be taken to court, but I would never stop them from printing. So while I don't admire them, they have every right to print their page as I have to go on the air. I don't have any greater rights than they do. I respect their right to print. I don't like it, but they have every right to do what they do. And as they point out, Mr. Morris made a major mistake.
El señor Morris cometió un error. Él dice que hay libertad de que estos tabloides escriban lo que quiera. Hay que llevarlos a las cortes, ha dicho. Hay que protestar. Tienen su derecho a trabajar, como yo, el de ir al aire todos los días. Pero no es amigo de los tabloides,
No es amigo,
de estos periódicos, ¿no?
No le gustan, no los lee, no le gustan los rumores, no los admira tampoco, pero dicen que tiene el derecho a la libertad de prensa.
Hay una promoción que dice, la gente le fascinan las preguntas de Larry King porque nunca se sabe qué va a preguntar. Y en la promoción él reconoce, ni siquiera yo. ¿En qué momento él decide qué va a preguntar? Mr. King, there is a promo on CNN that you are saying people love to wait. There is an expectation about what are you going to ask, but even you don't know what are you going to ask. In which moment do you decide the question?
That's a very good question because I don't have the answer. I like everything I do. I like being on live. I'm very curious. I've always been curious since I was a little boy. When I was a little boy, I wanted to know why the bus driver wanted to drive the bus. Why did someone want to be a fireman? Why did someone want to be a policeman? And this curiosity, I was just always full of questions. I'm full of questions when I go out to dinner. I'm not the kind of person you want to sit next to on an airplane. If you want to be left alone. Questions come out of me all the time. So it's hard to think about that. I don't even think about my style. I do know this. I know that I leave myself out of it. I don't use the word I. And I ask short questions. If you watch the show a lot, I don't ask questions that take a minute to ask. I ask very short, right to the point questions. And above all, I listen to the answer. Because often the answer prompts the next question.
Y ahí está el secreto. En la respuesta está la pregunta. ¿Qué dijo Cielo de esta pregunta que le hicimos?
Le contestó que es una pregunta muy buena porque no tiene la respuesta, que siempre ha sido una persona muy curiosa, que desde pequeño siempre quería saber por qué el bombero quería ser bombero, por qué el policía, por qué el señor del bus quería manejar un bus. Dice que no es la persona...
Es una pesadilla sentarse con él al lado de un avión porque
un
comienza a preguntar una cantidad de cosas. Hablemos de Colombia. ¿Qué sabe el señor King de Colombia y cuál es su impresión sobre la crisis que estamos viviendo? Mr. King, what do you know about Colombia? What is your personal opinion about our crisis here in our country, our president, our government?
Well, I read a lot about it from American periodicals. I don't know Mr. Samper. I would like to interview him. There's a lot of negative thinking about him in the United States. I don't think the government thinks too much of him. They think that he's, if not involved in the drug situation, certainly has turned his head from it. I don't like to prejudge people, so all I know is what I read. What I read is, the problem I think with Colombia is when Americans think of Colombia, the first thing they think of is drugs. And I wish that that would change. I would like to visit the country. I've never been there. I've had friends who've been there that told me it's so beautiful, and I would love to see it. I'm a great fan of Marquez. I think he's one of the great writers ever in any generation. I don't know the inner workings of the politics, but from an American standpoint, we do not have a very, very positive view of Mr. Samper. However, I'd like to make my own mind up. I'd like to interview him.
Vamos a traducir. We have two more questions to Mr. King. Lo que dice es que le gustaría entrevistar al señor Samper. Él ha leído muchas cosas negativas sobre Colombia, sobre el presidente, cosas que lo tratan de envolver o de señalar, si no lo envuelven con el tema de las drogas, al menos porque él bajó su cabeza ante el tema de las drogas. Pero él no quiere prejuzgar. Le gustaría entrevistar al señor Samper para no hacer una evaluación injusta sin conocer al personaje.
La pregunta siguiente, Julio, sería ¿qué le gustaría preguntarle al presidente Samper si lo tuviera enfrente?
If you have President Samper right now in front of you, short question for President Samper.
What's going on?
What's going on? ¿Qué está pasando?
¿Qué está pasando? Another short question.
Eso,
Well, I'm glad the gag order was lifted. I think that was a very good idea. Another short question would be, why don't you sit down with the opposition, sit down with the peasant leaders? Why not try to work things out rather than all this resistance? Why not, I guess the basic simple question would be, why not talk?
Una pregunta muy simple. Señor presidente Samper, ¿por qué no hablar? Y la resume, ¿por qué no sentarse con sus opositores y evitar tanta resistencia? Ha sido un verdadero placer. ¿Algo más, Uchi? No, nada más. Ha sido un verdadero placer hablar con esta leyenda que ha estado sentado.
Nos quedaríamos preguntándole
Sí,
toda la
pero
mañana.
un minuto del
Sí.
señor King, usted se imagina lo que significa.
¿Y
Tal
sabe
vez
qué?
la última pregunta es CNN. Nadie daba un peso por el futuro de CNN. Cuando él entró a trabajar en CNN, creyó que CNN iba a durar 10 años, iba a tener todo el éxito que ha tenido CNN al aire.
Mr. King, when you started working in CNN 10 years ago, do you think it was going to be this successful? It was going to last this long? It was going to have so many triumphs over in the media?
I never thought this would happen. It's 11 and a half years now. When it started in 1985, I signed a one-year contract. I thought we'd both give it a try. It's been the best thing I ever did in my life. It's a wonderful association. But I pinch myself every day. I cannot believe all the things that have happened to me. And I still can't believe it.
Simplemente no lo puedo creer y como lo decíamos al comienzo, él jamás se imaginó. 11 años y medio, el futuro de CNN era incierto, sin embargo, ahí están. Él nunca lo creyó. Un placer hablar con el señor King, quien escribe una columna diariamente para el diario USA Today, quien tiene un programa de radio también en las principales estaciones de los Estados Unidos y quien todas las noches a las 8 de la noche dice, "This is Larry King Live." Mr. King, thank you very much. Anything you need in Colombia, anytime you want to come. If you want us for your program, for your show, if you want to help us with your the people you interview, we would like to cooperate with anything you want. Has been a pleasure for us.
It's been my pleasure. I will talk to the people at CNN International. I will come down and see you. I'd love to meet you in person. I'd love to go into the mountains, and I'd love to meet the president. I look forward to coming down within the next year.
Larry, thank you very much.
Thank you, Julio.
Bye, Larry.
Hasta luego.
Mi amigo Larry King.